And welcome back, everybody, to the Auburn Undercover podcast. Little recruiting show out here today. Not doing a practice recap. We've got the B team, the B host out here. Nathan's in there doing actual work. But we're going to talk recruiting a little bit. Jason, I don't think we've done a pod since Jace Matthews committed. Maybe we have. But either way, we're going to talk about him again. Yeah. Auburn's latest commitment. Might not be the latest commitment for long, though, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Picks up the receiver out of Greene County, Mississippi, the rival high school of George County, where Deuce Knight played. Mm-hmm. Those two have known each other for a really long time. Talked with Deuce previously in high school and stuff like that, and he's like, I'm just telling y'all, that guy's a freak. Just look at his basketball highlights, this stuff that he told us, and Jace going between the legs for dunks and stuff like that. He's been compared by some to Malcolm Simmons. You compared him to KLS. Yep. I can see him as kind of a hybrid of both of those guys a little bit. He was Auburn's kind of top receiver guy in this class. They had to have him from their perspective. They didn't have to have him, but it was a guy that they were like, we got to have this guy. They wanted him that badly. Yeah. And you had to beat out some really big schools to do it. You had to beat out LSU, who's in contention for wide receiver U. You had to beat out the in-state school in Ole Miss. Had to beat out A&M. He had more offers as well. But Auburn gets the job done and gets him into class. Yeah, no, I thought it was really big when you start talking about added athleticism, doing the things they're doing at the wide receiver room. And you think about, potentially, you look and you go, you only have Horatio Fields, who's a senior, and then Eric Singleton is a guy that could obviously go pro after this year. Everybody else has eligibility, would potentially be back next year. So you're talking about, hey, can you add quality? You're not looking for as much quantity. Now, they'd probably like to add a couple more guys, but quality here because you potentially have a really good room returning. This is a guy that could come in and compete. We're talking about athleticism, and mentioned like Malcolm. You could see the burst from a guy like Malcolm, but when I saw ball skills and him going up and catching the ball, doing the things he did, that's one that reminds me of Keandre Lambert-Smith a little bit. So, hey, if you're a mix of those two guys and you show that on the field when you get to college, it'll be pretty darn good. Yeah, the thing with, and you mentioned it with the numbers, feels like Auburn wanted a guy who could come in and compete with this room right away. Compete with the Freeze Four, compete with Sam Turner, compete with Duke Smith, can be in the mix right away, but can also be kind of the cornerstone, the centerpiece of the future of that room. That's what Jace Matthews is. Then you mentioned the other numbers. Probably take one, maybe two more high school receivers in this class. We know Auburn likes Deshaun Spencer, the Duke commit from Saraland. We like Deshaun Spencer a lot. He's more of that developmental piece who maybe more of a slow burn, takes a little bit of time once he gets to college. But really athletic, a ton of potential. I mean, last year was his first year playing receiver. He played running back beforehand. Kind of more of that slot guy. Similar kind of build maybe to Bryce Cain. But he feels like the most likely second option. I put him in my mock class on Monday. He feels like that second guy. Tyron Wortham, the Michigan State commit from Florida, he's another one. And look, Auburn's going to keep recruiting some of these other big dogs, the Cedarian Morgan, the Marquez Daniel, those guys. They'll be on campus this fall, but it doesn't feel like, from a monetary standpoint, Auburn would invest. Yeah, and if you win a bunch of games, and all of a sudden you look up and you go, man, this team is 6-1, and you've beaten Georgia, somebody like, it could impact things in that way potentially as well. Yeah, but what if Eric Singleton is a first rounder and Cam Coleman is an All-American? Correct, and you go, hey, look, you're the next guy. So it could change things in that way some, but yeah, it's hard to project that right now. Yeah. Look, you never know how things are going to change in recruiting. From mock class 1 to mock class 2, it was a little different. A stark contrast. We could not have predicted how the summer would have necessarily gone. But Auburn has a chance to finish on a high note. Got Jace Matthews. They've finished with some solid pieces down the stretch here. Now it's the biggest fish, as I called him. Bralan Womack, number 13 player in the country, the number 1 safety in the country, player comp of Caleb Downs, which is it's a good one to have. Yeah, it is. And this is a guy I got to see out in San Antonio. He played in the Navy All-American Bowl after his junior year. He was one of those select few elite juniors that got selected to play in the game. He didn't look like a junior out there. He looked like a guy that belonged with those seniors that were going into college. Jason, as we close in on Thursday's commitment date, he's announcing at 7 p.m. Central Time, announcing with 24/7 and CBS, so y'all be able to watch his stream live. Doing it with our guy Tom Loy, so that'll be good to watch over there in Mississippi. But as it closes in, continue to feel like Auburn's in a good spot to land him, and what it would do for this class, what it would do for that secondary.
Yeah, it'd be big in a lot of areas. You're right. Extremely talented player, first of all, and you're talking about, look at that secondary group. You got some older safety that you brought in, young talent. They're rotate guys. They're going to play a lot of guys. They're looking for versatility, and that's what he brings to the table as well. A guy that can play both safety spots, probably play nickel too. Everything that you're looking for in a player that Auburn wants to covet as a safety / defensive back, Bralan Womack brings to the table.
Yeah, you don't need to load up at safety in this class. You can load up with one guy. You got New Boy Fagans, you got Eric Winters last year. A lot of that safety room will be back.
Yep.
It's not an older safety room, even though you feel really good about it. You get one guy, just like Jace Matthews, you get one guy who can come in and compete right away and then also be the centerpiece and the cornerstone of the future of that room.
Yeah.
Perfect, you're set. And you've got Wayne Henry, he can be kind of a safety nickel as well. But if you get Bralan Womack, you keep recruiting other safeties, you keep recruiting other guys. You don't really have a whole lot of other need at that position in this class.
You're right, because you're looking at there's certain positions where you'll go a little bit heavier in terms of numbers, and you think about offensive line. They've already starting to build an offensive line class from a number standpoint. Linebacker will be a group they'll probably add some more numbers to, even though it's not a bunch of older guys that you have on campus right now. But you look at secondary group, you got a lot of younger guys there. Wide receiver group, a lot of younger guys. Running back, most everybody would potentially return. That's the thing about this, and we've talked about it. This is a primarily freshman, sophomore dominated roster to this point still, and so because of that, you can afford to go, hey, let's go quality, and that's what they're continuing to do.
Yeah, the other thing I want to touch on real quick, if Auburn is able to get Bralan Womack, which we feel like at this time they will, what they've done in the state of Mississippi, getting Jace Matthews, getting Bralan Womack, you've got Eric Perry from there as well. This staff has put an emphasis on that state. I feel like they've done a really good job of that. I guess Lane Kiffin is too busy tweeting at other coaches or something. But they've done a really good job there. They're going to keep recruiting it. Corey Wells, that's a guy that Auburn is really, really heavily on. The 4-star defensive lineman committed to Texas out of Petal, Mississippi. Mm-hmm. In what's a little bit more of a down year in the state of Alabama. A little bit. There's still some really, really elite players. In what's a better year in Mississippi this year than usual, they've attacked that pretty well, I think.
And a lot of connections for the staff in Mississippi. Obviously, Hugh Freeze, Derek Nix. You think about Ken Austin, his time in Mississippi. There's a lot of connections. Jake Thornton's connections in Mississippi. You have a lot of connections in the state of Mississippi, and because of that, that's a place that's always going to be a point that they'll focus on. You look at this roster. There's some kids from Mississippi on this roster that are continuing to play well, and younger guys.
I think Deuce has helped with these guys in this current class.
I don't think there's any question about that, too. So, yes, a lot of connections in Mississippi, and hey, if you can add 3 or 4 or 5 more of those guys in this year's class, too, that'd be a big deal.
Jason, I think we'll wrap it up there unless there's anything that I'm missing, but I think we've got it pretty well covered. For those that are watching on the YouTube, head on over to auburnundercover.com. Ton of content over there. Still running our 50% off promo as well, so you can get in on that. We've got a ton of new signups, so appreciate everyone that's joined us. Happy to have y'all. If you're here on the YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. We've been having a ton of different podcasts, video of interviews, of player interviews, of practice, all kinds of stuff. So we have a ton of stuff here as well. Appreciate everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.